He actually laughed, not a polite chuckle. A full-blown, head-thrown-back laugh right in my face. I was standing in Garrick's glass-walled corner office, holding a binder so thick my arm was cramping. 14 years of work, algorithms, route optimizations, predictive load balancing, everything I'd built that saved Allied Freight Systems millions. I'd organized it all, documented it clean, even highlighted the impact data. I said, "I'm asking for a 10% raise." That's all. Garrick leaned back in his leather chair, shaking his head like I'd asked him to hand over his house keys. "Brian," he said, still grinning, "you're just back office, man. Board doesn't even know your name." I didn't say anything, just stood there, binder in hand, watching him wipe his eyes like this was the funniest thing he'd heard all week. He added, "If you think you're hot stuff, go find out what you're worth elsewhere." And that was it. No discussion, no counter, no thanks for over a decade of bleeding for this place. Quick note, before we get into the next part, share which city or country you're watching from. I didn't storm out. I didn't make a scene. But something cracked inside me. Not pride. That was long gone. It was the last thread of belief that loyalty actually meant something. I walked out of that office with my face burning and my hands shaking. I passed the front desk where Christy wouldn't meet my eyes. Probably heard everything through the glass. Everyone did. Back in the tech wing, it was quiet as a tomb. Used to be 20 of us in this department. Now, it was just 3. Not because they downsized, because I'd built systems that did the work faster, cleaner, and without breaks. I sat down at my cubicle, dropped the binder on the desk like it weighed 50 pounds. I stared at the screen for a second, then my inbox pinged. Company newsletter, subject line, Allied Lands East Grove deal thanks to CEO's vision. I clicked it. There was Garrick's smug face, posing with a hard hat on a construction site, holding a tablet. The article went on about his revolutionary supply chain strategy, how his leadership drove efficiency, how East Grove was investing in the future of freight logistics. Every single quote, every win, every stat they bragged about was based on my work. My jaw clenched. My hand curled around the mouse so tight I heard it creak. The systems they were praising him for, I designed them. I built them. Alone, nights, weekends. And to him, I was just back office. I shut the newsletter and opened the bottom drawer of my desk, the one I kept locked. The key was always on my car ring. Never trusted anyone here enough to leave it open. Inside was a plain black notebook, beat to hell on the corners, pages dog-eared and stained from coffee and late nights. I flipped past the front sketches, past the sticky note tabs and highlighted deadlines. Then I stopped. Page 97. Personal project, Initor September 6th, 3:12 a.m. I remembered that night. At wife asleep upstairs. I was hunched at the kitchen table with a Red Bull and a half-dead laptop, building the framework for the system. Allied now swore was Garrick's vision. The diagrams were rough but clear, data pathways, dynamic routing logic. I'd even printed server logs showing when I first ran simulations, weeks before I ever pitched the idea in our Tuesday planning meeting. Everything was built on my time, my machines, my brain, and I never signed it over. Their standard contract was boilerplate. Anything made on their clock, on their tools, under their roof, that belonged to them. This didn't. I slid the notebook into my bag and logged into my voicemail. 19 saved messages. Most were junk, but number 14 had a name I hadn't heard in a while. "Hey Brian, Logan Thompson here, Redline Cargo, COO. We crossed paths at the Vegas Expo last year. Still remember your demo. We've been following what you did at Allied. Impressive stuff. Just wanted to say, if you're ever looking to make a move, the offer still stands. We value talent. Call me back anytime 6 months old." I stared at the phone for a second, Garrick's laugh still echoing in my skull. Then I hit call. He picked up on the second ring. "Logan Thompson. It's Brian Kirk, from Allied Brian, man. Been hoping you'd call." We talked for maybe 2 minutes before he said, "Let's do dinner tonight. You free?" I was. We met at a steakhouse downtown. Quiet, low lighting, real silverware. Not the usual chain place we took clients. He stood when I walked in, shook my hand like we were old friends. I ordered a bourbon, straight. Logan didn't waste time. "I'll be honest, We tried to reverse engineer what you built. Failed. Your system's airtight. I didn't respond. I just sipped. Let him talk. We want the mind behind it, he said. Not just the system. You, come run our logistics innovation team. Full leadership role. Build it your way. No interference. I raised an eyebrow. What's the offer? He smiled. Triple what you make now. Full benefits, stock options, and a budget to hire your own team. I didn't answer right away. My stomach was tight, not from nerves, from anger. All these years grinding for Garrick, fixing his messes, making him look like a genius. Logan leaned in a little. You're the real deal, Brian. We don't need figureheads. We need builders. The last time anyone said something like that to me was never. I nodded once. I want everything in writing, and I'm not burning my IP. I bring what's mine, clean. Of course, he said. We'll have legal clear it. We've done this before. Dinner lasted another hour, mostly logistics talk. API integrations, vendor optimization, predictive load timing. I didn't hold back. He didn't interrupt. He just listened like a guy who actually gave a damn. As I walked out into the night air, I knew what I was going to do. No anger left, just purpose. Garrick thought I was back office. He was about to find out what back office could really do. 2 weeks later, I walked into Garrick's office without knocking. He was on his laptop, half-eaten muffin on a napkin next to his phone, still playing the role, button-down shirt rolled at the sleeves, Bluetooth in one ear, pretending to be too busy to look up. I dropped the envelope on his desk. It landed with a soft thud, but it cut through the room like a gunshot. He kept typing. Give me a second, he muttered, eyes on the screen. I didn't move. I let the silence sit there until he finally sighed and reached for the envelope. His eyes scanned the first line. Then he froze. Redline cargo? I said nothing. He looked up like I'd punched him in the stomach. You're leaving? His voice cracked just a little. You serious with this? Effective 2 weeks from today. He set the paper down like it was toxic. We're in final negotiations with East Grove. You helped write that damn proposal. I nodded. I built the models, the numbers, the timeline, the projections, all of it. He leaned back, running a hand through his perfect hair. Let's talk about this. Maybe you want more money. We can work something out. I waited. Leadership, he offered, grasping. You want a title? A team? Say the word. My new offer is triple what I make here. Comes with stock, full leadership, and my own team. His jaw clenched. So this is about money? I tilted my head. You said everyone's replaceable. He didn't have a comeback. Just stared like he didn't recognize me. I turned to leave. Brian, he called out. I paused in the doorway. You're really doing this? Already done. Back at my desk, I didn't waste time. I opened my laptop, pulled up my documentation logs, and started printing. Everything I'd ever labeled personal project. I made sure it was clean, with dates, timestamps, email threads. I had everything. Emails from 2 years ago where I shared prototypes and wrote in plain text, created on personal time, let me know if the company wants to formalize use. Screenshots of folder paths showing the builds were done on my own machine. IP logs from my home server. Internal emails where my manager replied, cool stuff, roll it out when you can. Nothing formal. No signed handoff. No contract changes. They used it because it worked, not because they had rights to it. That week, I rewrote the user manuals, line by line, made the system readable for whoever came next. I wasn't trying to screw the next guy, just make sure no one said I left them high and dry. Every morning, I walked in with my head up. Every night, I walked out knowing I was one day closer to being free. Garrick didn't talk to me much after that first day. I'd catch him peeking out of his office when I passed, like he was waiting for me to sabotage something. I didn't. I didn't have to. On the last Thursday, I boxed up my stuff. A couple of books, an old mouse pad, the coffee mug with logistics nerd on the side. Where you headed? Christy from the front desk asked as I walked by. Up, I said, finally. Friday morning, I wore a collared shirt. No tie, no company polo. Just clean, sharp, like I meant business. The HR rep tried to smile when she waved me back, but it looked more like a wince. I followed her down the hallway, past the framed plaques and mission statements no one ever read, and into a windowless conference room where Carl was already waiting. Legal representative. Buttoned up. Always looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He slid a thick stack of papers across the table. Standard exit package, he said. Non-disclosure, non-compete, confidentiality, arbitration clause, return of property agreement. I held up a hand. Yeah, no. Carl blinked. Excuse me? I'll sign the NDA. I'm not walking out with gossip. But I'm not signing the non-compete. He glanced down at the pages. Brian, this is just standard. It wasn't in my original agreement. I checked. Twice. It's company policy now. Everyone signs it on exit. Well, I'm not everyone. He frowned, straightened the pile, clearly trying to stay calm. You're moving to a competitor. That's a problem. We need to protect our interests. I reached into my bag and pulled out the black notebook, dropped it on the table in front of him. He didn't touch it right away, just looked at it like it might explode. I opened it for him, flipped to the dated sketches, the process diagrams, the simulation logs, built on my time, my equipment, documented from day one, never signed over, never acquired by allied Carl, finally leaned forward, flipping through the pages slowly. I watched his face shift, confusion, then recognition, then something that looked a lot like dread. These are the routing matrices, he said quietly. This is your early adaptive model. The exact one the company's running on, I said, but cleaner, faster. That one's been watered down to fit the existing tools. He didn't argue. I leaned back. So if you want to push the non-compete, go ahead. But I've got 14 years of clean separation between what's mine and what's theirs. You really want to test that in court? Carl rubbed his eyes. You know what this means, right? Yeah. He shut the notebook and pushed the papers aside. Fine. You'll get the revised exit documents, just the NDA and property return. That's all I came to sign. At 5:22 p.m. sharp, I walked out of that building. Same time as every other Friday. No cake, no farewell email, no handshake from Garrick. Just the front doors closing behind me, like the end of a bad chapter. Monday morning, I parked outside Redline's headquarters. Sharp new build on the edge of town. All glass and steel and real momentum. Reception already had my badge waiting. The front desk team smiled like I actually mattered. My new office was on the 3rd floor. Frosted door, nameplate, a window view. Inside were 5 desks, each one already occupied. My team, young, hungry, smart. They looked up as I walked in. Morning, I said. They smiled. One of them stood and said, Welcome to the front line, sir. I dropped my bag, rolled up my sleeves and said, All right, let's get to work. By the end of week 6, we went live. Redline flipped the switch on my system. Clean launch, no downtime, no hiccups. For the first time in months, I breathed easy. Then the metrics started rolling in. Delivery speeds jumped 30% in the first 2 weeks. We slashed operating costs by 22. Routes optimized, fuel usage dropped, warehouse delays practically vanished. Logan called me into his office the morning we hit full rollout. You ready to make some noise? He asked, holding up a folder. Inside was the pitch to East Grove, side-by-side performance data, cost savings, projected growth, real numbers, all of it stacked Redline over Allied like a damn skyscraper. I nodded. Let's go take what they thought they had locked. We didn't even need smoke and mirrors, just facts. Truth sells itself when the other guy's been bluffing. East Grove's board took one look at the numbers and scheduled a site visit for the following Monday. By Wednesday, the announcement dropped. Redline Cargo awarded exclusive 5-year contract with East Grove Manufacturing. I saw it in my inbox before anyone else said a word. I didn't forward it, didn't print it, just sat back in my chair and let the headlines sink in. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. Garrick, mobile. I let it ring. Then again, Garrick, mobile. Ignored it. 2 more calls came in that night. I turned my phone over and left it face down on the counter. Then came the voicemail. Brian, it's Garrick. Listen, I think we got off track. I've got something you might want to hear. Let's talk numbers. We're putting together a consulting deal. Very lucrative. We value what you built. Call me, I deleted it without playing the rest. 2 days later, I stayed late working on fleet expansion models. Sun was down. Parking garage mostly empty. I was walking to my truck when I saw him, leaning against a pillar near my spot. Same blazer he always wore when he was trying to look relatable. He stepped forward. "Brian?" I didn't stop walking. "Can we talk?" he said, picking up pace beside me. "You already left 4 messages. This isn't about me." Hundreds of jobs are on the line. I turned to face him, cool air in my lungs, boots planted. "I didn't take anything from you." His mouth opened like he wanted to argue. I didn't give him the chance. "You just never valued what you had. That's on you." He looked older, gray at the temples, shoulders slouched, like the weight finally showed up, and no one was left to help carry it. "I underestimated you," he muttered. "No, you ignored me. I unlocked the truck and opened the door. You built a whole company on other people's work. You just didn't think we'd ever leave." I got in. He didn't say another word, just stood there, helpless, as I drove off. That Friday, Allied stock dropped 29% before noon. By market close, it was down 59. By the following week, layoffs hit. Ops, admin, warehousing, IT. I got texts from old coworkers. Some pissed, some stunned. Most just scared. A month later, Garrick resigned. Quiet announcement, no press conference, no LinkedIn victory post. I watched the fallout without cheering. Didn't feel like a win, just felt inevitable. You ignore the people who build your foundation. Eventually the whole damn building caves in. And Garrick? He thought he was the structure. Turned out, he was just drywall. The court summons showed up 2 weeks after Garrick disappeared from the headlines. Allied Freight Systems versus Brian Kirk. Cause: theft of proprietary intellectual property. I didn't flinch, didn't panic. Just forwarded it to Redline's legal team and kept working. 3 days later, I was sitting across from 2 attorneys and a judge in a downtown hearing room. Allied brought in a young suit who didn't know the first thing about supply chains, trying to sound righteous about misappropriated systems. I didn't say much, just slid my black notebook across the table, then the USB drive, then a printed timeline, email chains, development logs, dates, hardware details, proof that what I'd built was mine before Allied ever laid eyes on it. The judge barely looked up after reading the first half. "Case dismissed," she said flatly. "No grounds for ownership. Defendant is free to go. Carl," Allied's old legal guy, didn't even show. Outside the courthouse, a couple reporters hovered near the sidewalk, waiting for a quote. I walked past without saying a word. 3 weeks later, Garrick walked into my office. No appointment, no call. Just walked right in like he still mattered. Same trench coat, same fake calm in his voice. "You destroyed everything." I leaned back in my chair. "No, you did that." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "I just stopped letting you steal from me." His face crumpled for half a second, but he pulled it together quick. 200 people, Brian. You think they deserve this? You think I don't carry that?" I stood. "I know every one of those people gave more to that place than you ever did. You left them in the dark while you cashed the credit." He looked around the office like it was unfamiliar ground. It was. "You built nothing," I said. "You borrowed brilliance and called it yours. That kind of empire never lasts." He didn't argue. He just left. But the wait stayed. The layoffs weren't just headlines. They were real. Rent, groceries, kids in college. That night, I stayed late, lights off. Just my laptop glowing in the dark. I started building a spreadsheet. Names, departments, contact info for every Allied employee I'd ever worked with or supervised. Over 200 rows by the time I was done. Next morning, I walked into Logan's office and pitched it straight. "We bring them in, train the ones who need it, hire who we can, call it Operation Second Wind." He didn't blink. "Do it." We rolled it out within a week, started with 15 openings, posted them public, then targeted outreach. Emails, calls, LinkedIn messages. We didn't promise everyone a job, but we promised a shot. The story spread fast. A logistics blog picked it up. Then a local paper. Then a major industry mag ran a piece called "From Collapse to Comeback." Redline's unexpected lifeline. Clients noticed, vendors noticed. Our inbox blew up with new contract inquiries. Redline's name started trending in circles we hadn't even touched before. We weren't just another freight company anymore. We were the ones who gave people a second chance, and the ones who proved that real innovation isn't just what you build, it's who you build it with. I didn't need to prove it again. She already knew where the lines were drawn. You were the architect of the whole system, Brian. Doesn't matter where you built it, they used it. You knew what would happen when you walked. I knew Garrick would choke without a net, I said. But I didn't expect him to take 200 people down with him. She looked up. You got yours. The rest of us? We're screwed. That one stung, more than I expected. I never wanted this to happen to you, or to any of them, I said. I just stopped letting myself get stepped on. She finally sat. Quiet now. Tired. I leaned forward. Come consult with us. We're rebuilding. I need people who know the real pain points. You've got insight no one here does. Marla hesitated. You think I'd cross over? After everything? I think you care about the work and the people. That's what I need. She didn't give me an answer, just closed the notebook and stood. I'll think about it. A few days passed. I didn't follow up. I figured she needed time. In the meantime, I got back into the spreadsheet I'd built, the one with all the old allied names. It had over 200 now. I added tabs, roles, skill sets, experience levels, even location filters for remote versus in-office. I flagged anyone close to retirement for part-time advisory gigs, flexible hours, whatever we could make work. Then I brought it to Logan. He scrolled through it in silence for almost a full minute. You want to hire all of them? Not all at once, but piece by piece. Build a pipeline, training, placements, even just gigs for people who need a soft landing. These are people who made Allied work. I know what they're capable of. He didn't hesitate. Greenlight it. That same afternoon, Marla came back. I'm in, she said. Consulting? She shook her head. I want to help run this thing. We onboarded her as Director of Customer Experience the following week. I didn't need to train her. She knew more about handling freight partners and frontline staff than anyone in the building. Word spread. Old colleagues started showing up. People I hadn't seen in years, some angry, some nervous, most just looking for a place to land. We took in everyone we could. Former route supervisors became dispatch leads. Ex-techs jumped into system support. One of the guys from our old Chicago branch, pushing 65, started training junior hires 3 mornings a week and swore it gave him a reason to get out of bed again. Redline hired over 170 former Allied employees within 3 months. We opened 2 new locations to keep up with the workflow. For the first time, people didn't just talk about our tech. They talked about our culture, about what we were building beyond freight, beyond efficiency. Marla said it best in a team meeting one day. Allied forgot we were the ones driving the engine. Redline handed us the keys. And damn if we didn't know how to drive. I was grabbing a sandwich from the corner deli when I got the text. Brian, it's Carl. You got a minute? I need to tell you something. I stared at the screen for a second. Wasn't sure I wanted to hear whatever it was, but I replied anyway. Where? We met at a coffee shop 2 blocks from Redline. Quiet place with stiff chairs and burned espresso. He was already there when I walked in. Same beige windbreaker, hunched over a cup like he didn't know what to do with his hands. He stood when he saw me, gave a weak handshake. Thanks for coming. I didn't sit right away. You said you needed to tell me something. Yeah. He looked around like someone might be watching. I couldn't leave it alone. What they did, what Garrick did. I finally sat. Spit it out, Carl. He nodded, like he knew I wasn't here for pleasantries. Back in 2018, he started. You sent me an email, said you were developing new logistics algorithms, asked if Allied wanted to acquire them formally. You were asking to do it clean, remember? Yeah, I said, and you never responded. I brought it to Garrick, he said, put it on his desk, told him we should formalize it, buy the rights, protect the company I leaned in. And, Carl exhaled. He looked me dead in the eye and said, just use it. We'll handle it later. Then he pushed it aside and moved on like it was a lunch menu. I stared at him. My hands were still on the table, but they were curled into fists. So he knew, I said. Carl nodded. He knew. All of it. When the lawsuit came up, I told him it wouldn't hold. He didn't care. Said it was about optics. Said you made him look stupid and he needed to regain control of the narrative. My stomach turned. He sued me knowing it wouldn't stick. Yeah, Carl said quietly. He did. And you went along with it? I fought it, he said. I pushed back hard. Got overruled. Garrick made that call himself. Legal wasn't unanimous, but in the end, we did what he ordered. I sat back, jaw tight. And now you're here? Why? To clear your conscience? Carl looked up at me, eyes red. This wasn't just about you, Brian. Garrick disrespected everyone. You just had the guts to leave. The rest of us stayed, hoping he'd change. But that company was already broken. You didn't destroy it. He paused. You just exposed it. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. We finished the coffee. No handshake this time. Just a nod, and I left. Back in the car, I sat for a minute before starting the engine. Thought about the years I gave to Allied, the weekends I lost, the loyalty I poured into something that treated me like a tool. People called what I did revenge, but it wasn't. It was just the truth catching up to arrogance. My phone rang on a Wednesday morning. Garrick, Mobile. This time, I picked up. His voice was low, flat. I didn't think you'd answer. I almost didn't, I said. Long pause on his end. Then, I never thought you'd actually leave. I leaned back in my chair. That was your mistake. I thought you needed us more than we needed you. I let the silence hang. He wasn't looking for forgiveness, just finally realizing what he'd lost. He cleared his throat. Allied's filing. Bankruptcy paperwork goes in. Next week I didn't say a word. There's still staff left, he said. They're scared. And they don't deserve to go down with me. Some of them gave 30 years. This wasn't their fault. What are you asking me, Garrick? He sighed. Can Redline take them? The ones that are left? You've got momentum, resources. You've already hired so many. Just finish it. Give them somewhere to land. I didn't answer him then. Just said I'd think about it and hung up. That afternoon, I walked into Logan's office, closed the door behind me. He looked up from his laptop. This about Allied? Yeah, it's over for them. Garrick just confirmed it. Logan nodded once. I figured. He wants us to take the last of the staff, I said. Absorb them before they're out cold. Logan sat back. You think they're worth it? Most of them? Yeah, and not just for the work, for what it says about who we are. He didn't even blink. Then let's do it. My systems team grew to 40. And Jason, Allied's old ops manager, the one I used to butt heads with over software changes, walked in one day with a resume in hand and a sheepish look on his face. I was wrong, he said, about all of it. I hired him the next morning. Redline wasn't just a company anymore. It was a rebuild, a rescue, a redemption story made up of people who'd been dismissed, underestimated, written off. People like me. I walked through those halls every day with a sense of purpose I'd never felt at Allied, even at my peak. Because here, I wasn't a cog. I was the one turning the gears. Logan once told me, you didn't just build a system, Brian. You built a culture. And looking around at what we'd become, I finally believed it. 1 year to the day after I walked out of Allied, I stood under stage lights, holding a glass plaque engraved with my name, National Supply Chain Innovator Award. I looked out at the crowd, rows of industry execs, engineers, analysts. Some I knew, most I didn't. They clapped like I'd cured something. I adjusted the mic. Innovation isn't just software or systems, I said. It's how you treat people, how you listen to the ones doing the hard work, how you protect the people building the future under your roof. Silence, then applause. I stepped off the stage into the reception area, grabbing a water bottle from the snack table just to keep my hands busy. Nerves don't stop just because you win. A young woman in a navy blazer stepped in front of me. Early 20s, nervous smile, folder clutched to her chest like a life jacket. I'm Tessa, she said, logistics engineer. First job, I followed your story, the Allied stuff. Redline. All of it, I nodded. Nice to meet you, Tessa. She glanced down, then back up. How'd you know when to finally walk away? I didn't even think. Too late. She blinked. Too late? I nodded. Don't make that mistake. If they don't value you, leave before they bleed you dry. She clutched her folder a little tighter. Yeah, I think I needed to hear that. She thanked me, then melted back into the crowd. A few minutes later, while grabbing my coat, I saw him. Standing near the back, hands in his pockets, suit wrinkled at the collar. Garrick. He didn't come forward, didn't make a scene, just gave a small nod. Not dramatic, not fake, just there. I gave him one back. Back at Redline, I didn't talk about the award much. The team saw the news, gave a round of applause, then went right back to work. That's who we were. But I did start something new, a mentorship program. Quiet, low pressure, one-on-one, focused on young professionals, teaching them how to protect their work, read their contracts, speak up early, walk when they need to. It wasn't flashy, but it mattered. Above my desk, I kept one framed article, Allied's Fall, a case of talent lost. Taped to the corner was a yellow post-it. The handwriting was tight, familiar. You were never back office. Gee, I never replied. Some things don't need a response.